Alright, hello everyone. This is warmCabin, and I'll be presenting Rockman 2 Zipless. I know the schedule said Mega Man 2, but we take what we can get. If you didn't know, Rockman 2 is the Japanese version. It's equivalent to difficult mode on the international release, but with faster text, or more specifically, less of it. And if you're wondering about normal mode, stop wondering about normal mode. That's all I will say. Okay, so in real-time runs of this category, you'll usually see people go air first. And that's because he gives you item 2, which really helps out a lot. In this route, we eschew that in favor of having item 1 in Airman stage. And it's a really tough balance. It's only a second and a half faster. Really amazing stuff. It's a really, really cool coincidence. And quick first is sort of the whole route really had to shuffle around to make that work. So you'll see why later. Now for basic movement tech, Mega Man actually moves a bit slower on the ground by 1 pixel every 16 frames. So the movement is motivated by that. Think of the ground like a conveyor belt, and we want our feet on that ground. Now here's something that people ask questions about a lot. Look at this. In later Mega Man games, the way that Mega Man is facing determines how he gets knocked back. Let's go to the next one. The way Mega Man is facing determines how he gets knocked back in most Mega Man games. But in the first two, it's determined by the way the enemy is facing. So you see, even though I'm facing this way, you'd expect me to go like this. But, ooh, he pushes me to the right because he's facing right. This is the sole determining factor in knockback direction. Everybody has these big ideas about, like, hitbox overlap and frame rules. That's it. So the way those mech kills work, Mega Man 1 reference, by the way. The way those mech kills work is you want to get them to knock you to the right, so you kill them with good timing. Now, I know it's tacky, but I'd like to rewind and explain something. So you may notice throughout the fight, I shoot extra lemons. See that? Also, sick dodge, by the way. But that extra lemon is very deliberate, because you see, this one being present on screen makes this one collide 1 frame sooner. And now, with this bullet, we have the opposite problem. This guy would make this guy collide 1 frame later, so we have to shoot an extra one to reset it back to a good frame rule there. So you see that those are all very, very deliberate. And I named those after what's called quantum entanglement. We call them quantum shots after that. I almost call them spooky shots. So definitely direct your attention here. I think just whatever I tell you about this run, what people remember about it is those little light shows that I did. So definitely check those out. I won't fast forward the intermissions, just so you can check them out. Ah, yes, Metal Man. In this case, the stage is actually a conveyor belt. The ground is. So here, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about normal mode, but you might think it's faster to use Time Stopper there to dodge the crushers, if you know this game. But Metal Man, or Flash Man's weakness is the metal blades, which means, well, in difficult mode, it's actually shakes out. It's faster to just take the hits and then get a better boss fight versus Flash Man. In normal mode, the opposite is true. You want Time Stopper here because the bosses take fewer hits, which means that it saves less time. But you'll never know that because no one will ever make a normal mode TAS. This part's fun. I think I let go of right for... There's 1 frame. Yeah, I think 1 frame. I have the input viewer up. I'm not like that keen. So that right there, in the newer route, in the new version, this version is from 2019. There's improvements that are being made. Obviously, I'm not going to show you a work in progress here. But in the new version, I'm going to switch to Quick Boomerang at the very, very beginning of the stage. which saves 13 frames due to an animation quirk. I'll explain that to you in the next stage here. But I originally didn't switch to quick there because I couldn't figure out how to make it work without slowing down. So here's where I do switch. See, he's teleporting down, and we can press start to interrupt this animation. In fact, you don't even see him hit the ground if you do it frame perfect. This first possible start press is actually 13 frames sooner than the first possible jump you could do. And so you save 13 frames for free if you do that. And this stage is a good example, because if I had Buster out here, the movement would actually be just a bit cleaner, and I'd save like maybe 4 or 5 frames. But it's not worth it. The 13 frame pausing quirk is worth it. You'll see that a lot throughout the run. Extra life for swag, by the way. I think that's the first one. No, it's the second one. We've had 2 extra lives. And each one makes your run 10% cooler, so you do the math. Here's a floating metal blade. If you were watching the inputs, there's another one. I really went overboard with those on this. Here's the third one. Yeah, if you press opposing directions simultaneously, which you're not supposed to be able to do on a real controller, so they didn't code for that case, the metal blade will float in place. Like 2 opposing vectors are applied to it, I guess. See, the thing is, when you shoot metal blades, there's that throwing animation, right? And that stops you. You can't move, so you have to be jumping, which I told you is slower. So the fact that I was able to get those floating blades without incurring additional jumps, back in 2019, I guess I was really proud of that, so I kept doing it. Okay, so this is a double death. It's a pretty flashy trick. So watch how he teleports off the top of the screen. The way the game's coded, it's not like initiate teleport, wait 10 seconds, and then load the next level. No, what happens is it waits for him to reach, initiate teleport, wait for MegaMan's coordinates to be -1. So ending the fight higher up is optimal. And usually double death is not so dramatic. You'll save like maybe 1 or 2 pixels. But in Bubble Man's case, you actually save like a whole screen's worth of waiting. I think you go 8 pixels every frame. So it's not that substantial, but it's pretty good. But check this out, check this out. He's still stuck in the throwing animation. Because the double death it froze the timers. So I actually have to cancel it with a shot. So now I can walk while shooting. In the new version of the run, that didn't happen. So there's clearly something I don't understand there. Oh, ice physics are fun in this game. I wish every stage was icy. I'll show you. So, watch this. See, as I go, I turn around. And that's strategic. You lose a little speed when you do that, so that's strategic. I'm going to clip here with perfect subpixels. And then when I go like this, honestly, it can save up to almost a whole pixel, like 15/16 of a pixel. That's a pretty useful tech. In other stages, it's not so clean to get it perfect, like it is with ice physics. Quick Boomerang, by the way, it's exclusively, the only reason I switched to this is to deal with the mechs. We're gonna get a couple rightwards damage boosts. Ooh, yeah, that's right, you don't even need to get hit with the Quick Boomerang, you can kill him fast enough. But here, I have to take the hit. That's the only reason the Quick Boomerang's out. It's not worth 2 weapon switches, so if we were gonna use Buster on the boss, you wouldn't see Quick Boomerang in the stage, but it's worth a single extra switch, so here we are. So this is the fight. That fight, compared to the Buster fight, is worth it to take those hits from the Crushers back in metal. Just to clarify. Again, so no double deaths, but you want to make sure to end on the top ledge, for reasons I discussed earlier. Promised I wouldn't skip them. Okay, so this is Heatman, and it's going to start off virtually identical to any percent. I'll tell you when it diverges. That's extra life number 3, 4, 2 in a row. RNG, let me tell you about RNG, it cycles every frame. So it's not like whenever you kill an enemy, it increments or advances the register or whatever. Every frame RNG is advanced, and every random event that would occur on that frame is going to use the same value. The upshot for extra life manipulation is that if you have a really long range of time to kill an enemy, here's where it switches to zipless unique, by the way. If you have a really long range of time to kill an enemy, you can pretty much manipulate whatever you want, because there's only 128 possible values. So that little movement where I jump back and throw it again, that only saves time right there. And the other ones, it was optimal to do it as you saw. So if I actually slowed down, I think by like half a pixel or something, to sync up the subpixels with existing inputs from any percent, I just couldn't beat them. Those are actually a lot more, because those things, it's not an auto-scroller, right? Each of those blocks appears, like even though it's invisible, the timer starts. So you want to load that coordinate of the screen as soon as possible. And it's really tricky to get the timing. You could probably observe some quantum shots in there. You saw a bubble like tink off. That's why. Okay, this here is the crux of the entire route. So watch what I do with the Atom 1s. This does also exist in any percent, and it's certainly not a zip, but it saves 12 seconds over, you know, not having Item 1 here. I think you'll see how clearly that saves time. So if you just go, you just go. So, compared to normal, just picture standing around and waiting on those clouds and shooting the guys. It takes forever. But the thing is that having Item 2 early helps you get a lot of... Item 2 makes you go twice as fast, basically. So you can set it up to get some really nice, sort of, jet over the stage type of movement. And so that's why, even though that's, like, so clearly way faster, that's why it barely saves time. Because when you can't zip, Item 2 is king. Okay, this is exciting. I need to rewind a little bit. Not there. Real-time tassing. So look at this. The bird and the egg are separate objects, but when you shoot the bird, the egg dies. They're linked. So we're gonna go here, turn around for 1 frame, spawn the bird where we want him. So the bird's dropped its egg, but the behavior is still there. It still says, when I die, despawn the egg. So it's holding, to borrow a term, a null sprite slot. And this guy loads into that null slot. So now, the bird dies, so does its egg. In sarcasm quotes. That's when you don't actually have to shoot it like that. It's actually frame perfect to shoot it like that. You can just let him go off the edge of the screen. But that's that glitch. That's how that works. It saves a lot of time because the big guys with the fans in their chest, they blow air at you and slow you down by a lot. It's pretty cool that it works out like that without having to stop. Airman looks like a more in-shape version of those little guys, doesn't he? So that fight, there's only 2 patterns that are workable for a TAS. The rest of them are just complete garbage. And I actually showed off both of them in that fight. So this route deviates a little bit from what you might see in real-time Zipless runs. Real-time Zipless ones, they get out Atomic Fire and just charge it. I think they kill this guy. This is more similar to any percent. So it's best to exhaust your item 2 in one long ride. I'll tell you more later. So here, these guys actually have invisible barriers. You can see me bump up against it for a couple frames. So you need to defeat at least one of them. Time Stopper will actually prevent them from spawning, and also their barriers, but it doesn't last long enough to get all 3 of them. So that's why we have to use Atomic Fire and then Time Stopper. So that item 2 in this movement, this is inspired by the TAS, the PlayStation port of this run, which passes out zips, so it's kind of zipless, kind of not. He would switch to Crash Bomber here, but I stick with item 1 and just sort of lag my way around. So in real-time runs, what they would do is they would switch to item 2 right around here. Or no, they would still have it. They would use item 2 to go over the monkeys, gorillas. And they would still have it, so they wouldn't be BMing these guys with their tornadoes. And then they would use it to fly over here. And that's not bad, but the problem is that using item 2 in 2 bursts like that makes you have to deal with 2, like, acceleration periods. And it accelerates very slowly, so it's best to use all your energy in one go, if you can. That's the motivation behind this alternate movement, sort of. Fight's pretty clean. The very last hit is actually 1 frame slower than a theoretical optimal, like, iframes delay. But it just, because the previous projectiles have to leave the screen, there's nothing we can do. It's a miracle that it's only 1 frame. Alright, here comes Crashman. I don't care who you are, I don't care what category. Crashman's hype. I'm gonna use item 2 as a poor man's item 1 here. Get a cutesy little ride. Now we'll use item 1 as an item 1 man's item 1. So if you grab the ladders off screen, you get a little extra boost. And if you press down to do it, you get even more of a boost. Right here I think is a good opportunity to explain the ladder fidget. Let me show you. So I'm in the throwing animation and I grab it, and I can't move. I'd be stuck in this pose. Now in Mega Man 1, if you drop off and grab back on, the pose goes away and you can keep climbing. In Rockman 2, it's not the case. It persists. So what we do is you drop off, grab it again repeatedly, and that, even though you're visibly going downwards, it saves time. What's happening there? Well, let's watch it again. Grab, drop, grab, drop, grab. It's not visible. You can't see him going down, but he is going down. What's happening there is that the animation timer is decrementing twice in one frame. So each time you grab back on, the timer decreases by 2. And so even though you're going down, that ends up being faster. And if you're curious why that happens, I'm pretty sure it's because certain parts of the update routine, like including spawning bullets and running down your animation timer, it gets called twice in a single frame when you grab a ladder. There's a couple glitches that manifest from that coding design decision. This is the last little musical light show that I did, so I think I'll be fast-forwarding them from this point onward. That's a really tight jump there. We'll turn around. It doesn't work. There's no... We're using item 3 here instead of a normal item 2 strat. I found that typically what they will do is, in real time, what we'll do is we'll use item 2 here, and then we'll refill it in Wily 2. But I found that it was faster to just stick with item 3, because you need item 3 for this section anyway. So I found it was faster to stick to it. Stick to item 3. You don't lose any... you don't waste time in the menus. You waste like 50 frames every time you need a pause. There's a weird like half ladder alignment that helps position things here. There's another ladder fidget and a little pop-up. This is my strategy. Item 2 to climb that ladder saves like a second and a half. Nobody in the world does that. Except for me. I do that in real time. And it's a waste of energy and it's it's just not worth it, but it's so good. So if you've seen any percent, you know there's a way to skip this boss fight, but that is deemed too glitchy and banned. So we do this. We actually have to fight him. And this is one of the best possible... This is like the best possible coordinate you can die on. I set up a double death. Also, you have to kill him on an exact multiple of 16 frames, and you save an extra 16 frames. I don't fully understand it yet, but that's something that you have to keep in mind. So if you notice, like, mash, bow, if you hear that little gap in the shooting, that's why. So there's the energy refill that I emphatically avoid. There's our free E-Tank, which we won't be using. You know, as cool as it is, every extra life... That one doesn't count. That doesn't make your run cooler. It's unavoidable. But if every extra life makes your run 10% cooler, then using an E-Tank makes your run, like, 100% less cool. So basically, don't use E-Tanks in your TAS. And the drill really, like, scratches his helmet there, doesn't it? So that's not as hard as it looks. The chain hitbox does not exist when it's off screen. Neither does my cursor at all. But and there's when you pause, it resets your fall velocity. So a well-timed pause will help you like avoid clipping a ledge. Now this fight operates on a cycle, and the cycle is so slow. Like if you practice this fight for like an hour, you could probably tie the TAS. Well, minus the ending, you'll see. But it's really hard to screw this one up. So just have Mega Man sit in the center and get hit all of them. Ouch, oh no, it desynced. Just kidding. So again, that double death is going to save us like, I don't know, 2 tiles, 32 pixels. 4 frames? 5 frames? I don't know. Oh yes, this is my favorite strat in the whole world. So look at this. I got a hitbox script running. Whenever you shoot a weapon, it initializes a hit. Look at those bubbles, by the way. They go out of the water. Magic. So every time you shoot a weapon, it's going to initialize a hitbox size. And these guys in particular set up a really small one, size 1. Now, what I'm trying to do is preserve this one, size 2, which I've done successfully so far. And the way I do it is by keeping a max of 2 boomerangs on screen at once, which correspond to these 2 numbers. So see, even all these shots, 2 on screen maximum at a time. Even during the fight, even during my little tantrum. I'll explain this tantrum later, it's not totally pointless. So now we got him, it was all to preserve this little number 2 into the boss fight of the next stage. And again, this is a 2 from the metal blades from the Pico Pico fight at the end of Wily 2. Okay, so real quick, that tantrum. Item 1s have subpixels, which affects how quickly they rise. Sometimes you want them... You don't always want minimum, sometimes you want maximal or... It's confusing. But not only do they persist between usages of the items, but between usages of other items. So by shooting the quick boomerang and letting them fly, my item 1s are going to rise faster, and this item 3 as well. So there's all kinds of stuff like that throughout the run. It affects you way more in any percent, where you have to set up those awesome zips. But it still is a thorn in my side for zipless, too. You can see the item, I think item 3 is using the hitbox size as a timer or something. So you can see those rapidly fluctuating hitboxes. We can't use those. So see, look, we got a size 17. You don't even know what we're using them for, but just, you can't use it. So don't get excited. So pausing, you actually need to pause whether you won't hit that block. Using up the last of our item 1s. That guy's a jerk. Don't trust that guy. So here, rather than jump over him, I'm gonna take a hit. I'm setting up another thing for this fight. So I preserve this hitbox and the taking damage coordinates. So we're gonna go here. Taking damage makes this possible. See, let's get rid of this script real quick. So you can see, if you can see through the flicker, I'm able to, the explosion's not hitting it, MegaMan is. MegaMan's body acts as a bullet here. And it's some obscure hitbox glitch that I don't fully understand. But when you take damage, it affects the range of that. So right now it's actually a really crappy range. So that's pretty standard. And here, I get hit again, which sets up good values for this. So this hitbox is extra big and registers as a collision with MegaMan. Okay, so that's that. But what's with the Metal Blade hitbox? Well, here's where that comes into play. Settle down there, dude. So you see this right here? Crash Bomber does not initialize them. It does not initialize the hitboxes. So this is just going to be only for the projectile itself, not for the explosion particles. So this Metal Blade size 2 box that's been left over for 2 stages, it's there. And it's going to make this puff of smoke collide sooner, which enables me to get in here sooner and shoot my bomb sooner. So the timer starts when the bomb latches on the wall. I think what happens was the door exploded like 15-20 frames sooner, but the bomb latched into the wall like maybe 4 frames sooner. So the overall savings was a pretty disappointing 4 frames overall. for all that hyping up that I did. But it's my favorite TAS strat ever. Look how narrow that hitbox is, by the way. Oh no, has my cursor been offset from what's actually on my screen this whole time? Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh boy, that'll be funny. Alright, so this boss rush is... there's a new order that we do it in now, but this was meta in 2019. Oh gosh, this fight, it's really intricate exactly how far you go and how long you wait to like make him charge you. It's not as easy as you would think, the heat fight anyway. That fight's a real riot. So the fights shake out a little different because... Ah yes, using the crash bombs. We're not using those on the Wily machine, no sir. We use them on Quick Man. That's a fun fight to do. Quick fight it. Okay, don't blink. You know, people have all these cute little theories from when they were kids, like, oh, MegaMan's weak to his own weapon because the gears mesh, or because he's such a wimp. But the fact is that the devs just thought it would be cool. They're like, if we make him weak to his own weapon, they'll write about it in the magazines, and it'll be awesome, and people will buy our game. In case anyone was wondering that. Yeah, so instead of Crash Bomb, we just spam them full of metal blades. We actually use every little bit of ammo, which is impressive in its own right. Each little tick of metal blade is worth 4 blades. And if you don't use all 4, you can essentially, like, it won't spend it and it'll reset the sub-bar energy. Anyway, by holding right during that fall, you can get ahead of the camera a little bit. You're supposed to be in the center. And it completely trivializes an already somewhat easy segment. And that is time. I wasn't running a timer, but it was 23 minutes and something, I think. I forget. Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of the marathon. Unless they put this thing at the end, in which case, have a happy Thanksgiving.